Hello everyone! In today's video we're going to be talking about how to regulate a watch, or like just show you how a watch is regulated, because most of you are probably never going to do it yourself, but I just want to go into the process of regulating it. Like I showed the time graph from before, random people graph. I did not went into the details on how to regulate a watch. And today is that day. I'm going to talk about like regulating the watch time-wise, and also what is beat error and how to get rid of that, and why does it matter that there is a beat error. So today those are the two watches I'm going to show. I'm going to show some loose like balances too, to show you a bit of the different systems, but these two are the only ones I'm going to actually be doing some regulating on. So this is an older watch. This is a Ferro watch. I do know the make of the model in there, but this movement is a ETA 7750, which is a chronograph movement with all the bells and whistles. But this one has a fine adjust on that I wanted to show you. So yeah, first of all I'm going to explain what beat error is. So yeah, see you at the computer. So here we have the Swiss level escapement. What I'm going to tell now will apply for most of the escapements you will find in a watch, but it's just the easiest to explain on the Swiss level escapement. It's also the most common one that you will find in a watch. What I'm going to tell you is basically how you can visually tell how there is a beat error or not in a watch. However, this basically relates to like how a beat error is, like what it basically means. And a beat error is only visible when there's no power on the watch, like when the escapement doesn't receive power from the gear train. So let's pause it. So what a beat error basically is where does the balance has its natural resting point. This has to do with basically the length of the hairspring and where the hairspring starts and so many turns, and then the balance will have a natural resting position. However, we would want that resting position to be like the anchor body would be in one line with like an imaginary line in between the axle of your balance and the axle of your actual wheel. So right now it is all the way here at the stopper, which would be a pretty big beta, and if I advance it here, I think, yeah, this is the straight position. So if it's in the resting stand and it is in this position, that's zero beat error. One more to the left or a bit more to the right, and that's a slight beat error. Now, why does a beat error matter? Well, basically, if the watch is ticking, it's basically working against it if it is slightly to one side. So it would give you a lesser amplitude, and we always want to get the most amplitude out of it, because the more amplitude you have, the less influence you get from the outside world. There's also a thing, if you're starting to calculate your amplitude, that formula is only correct when the beat error is zero. Okay, it's going to be a slight error on the amplitude calculation, but that's also something that's, well, it's there. It doesn't really matter too much, but it's still something that's there. Now, how do you go about getting the beater out of a watch? Well, on modern watches, the end of the hairspring, basically the attachment points where it attached to the bridge, can be turned around. So you would basically turn it, and then the balance would follow. Balance wheel would follow, and eventually you would adjust it in such a way until it's in the straight position like this. On older watches, it's a bit more annoying, because in older watches, what you need to do is you need to go with a little screwdriver inside of like the attachment point for the mainspring on the balance axle. Put your screwdriver in there and then turn it. I'm probably going to show it on the microscope. Not how, like, really how to do it, because it's not really a decent way to show it, but where you need to put your screwdriver and do your thing. Because it's a pretty, like, it's doable, but it's a pretty risky thing to do. And that's why on a lot of older watches, you will find a slight beat error, because often people don't want to take the risk. So now that you understand the concept of beat error, let's go further into the explanation of regulating a watch. So first of all, here we have the Pharaoh watch under the microscope. And well, I was talking about beat error and how all the watches do not have that movable bit, and this is one of those. So this part, the attachment point for the hairspring, is just fixed. There's no way to move it. It is fixed in place. So this would be one of those where, like, you have to go in with the screwdriver to correct it. However, this does have the classical lever here, where the plus and the minus, to basically regulate it. So that's how you would do it. You would take, well, like a pair of tweezers, or if you're worried about scratches, you would get like either a brass pair of tweezers, or like a piece of wood, or like one of those plastic sticks. So yeah, and then you would just adjust this lever to whatever you want. It's really important to not push down, because you can stop the balance by doing that. So yeah, you would basically go to the time grapher and just adjust this until the line is straight, which I'm going to show in a bit. So yeah, that was the Pharaoh watch. Now let's go to the ETA 7750. So here we have the ETA 7750 under the microscope. I did remove the weight for the automatic winding for giving me easier access to the whole movement. It also shows a lot of the chronograph parts, because, well, this is a chronograph movement. But yeah, a video is not about chronographs today, it is about regulating. So here you can see the little lever, and this basically goes to a pivot point and then goes back around, and this allows for a much more fine adjustment, because basically they made a reduction here. You can still move it here too. So what you basically do is you would move it here, but first, before you do it here, because this is the coarse adjustment, then you would put the fine adjustment in the middle position, and then you would go close, and then you would do the fine regulating here. Yeah, so that's about it. I'm going to show the hairspring of an ETA 2428. because that's another kind of fine adjustment. And then we're going to hop on over to the microscope to show how this one is regulated. Microscope, no, time grapher. So here we have the balance with the bridge from the 2824 from ETA, and basically how you regulate this is you have the screw here, and you would put your screwdriver in, and the screw is basically eccentric, so the screw head is eccentric towards the body of the screw. So that means by turning it, you have those two basically following the side of the screw. So those go left or right depending on how you turn the screw. And that's how you regulate it. Also, this is the coarse adjustment. So again, if you would be doing like a fresh regulating of this watch, you would set this in the middle position, do the first coarse one, and then you would do the fine one after. Also, this really shows the Etachron system. So the Etachron system is basically you can see that like the start and here where you're regulating it is like a rectangle. There are special tools for it that you can attach, like fit over them to regulate. For example, this one you could use to compensate a watch. Compensating is not something I'm going to show in this video, but I might talk about it a bit later in this video. Also, something I forgot to show on the 7750, but the end point of the hairspring is movable. So this would be one of those watches where you can get the beat error all out, like basically zero beat error. So now I'm going to show another hairspring where like we can show how to get the beat error out the old-fashioned way, and then we're finally hopping on the time grapher. So here we have a really close-up view of a hairspring attached to the balance wheel, and in order to correct the beat error this way, you see the like little slit here. You would go in there with a really fine screwdriver just to open up the brass ring, and then you would turn the balance wheel loose from the hairspring. Like you would do this outside of the watch, by the way. That makes it so annoying, because then you would do an adjustment, put it back into the watch to see how well you did, and then getting it back out if it's not good enough. So that's why mostly on a watch this way there is always some beat error left. They don't, if it's a bit of a beat error, they just leave it like that, because, well, it's annoying. There's also a lot of like room for mistake. If you slip with your screwdriver, you are like, you can mess up your hairspring, or even worse, you can just cut it, and well, then it's game over. So with that said, let's go to the time grapher and regulate the watch. Hello everybody, welcome to the alt corner of my work table. This is where my grinder vibograph lives, my time grapher. I have one camera set up here, so you can see what I'm doing, and then I have one GoPro here on the like not screen but on the control panel, so you can see the paper and you can see the controls of the time grapher. I gotta say one thing, this is another watch than I showed in the previous cuts, There was a technical problem with that watch that meant I could not do this demonstration, and it would have taken me too long for the time frame of this video to fix those. So I took another one. It doesn't really matter for what I'm going to show you. It will be the same, but I'm just, well, you're probably going to see it's another one, so I thought I'd mention it. So yeah, here we have our time grapher. This is the paper where the pattern is going to show up in a bit. Speed settings, like speed, you can have like a really accurate mode that makes the paper go slower. This is the automatic mode, that means that the paper will go automatically, and this sets the speed, and I think I already put it on the right speed, which is 20,000. The volume control should be set okay. So let's press the test button and we'll see. So as you can see, we have about 15 seconds a day that it's running too fast, and we have a pretty big beat. You can see the lines are pretty far apart. So I'm going to try to adjust that by moving like basically the hooker point for the mainspring around. So I'm going to push it in one direction, and then I will see if that's the right direction or not. So let's see if that's better or worse. So as you can see, that is better. So the lines came closer together. However, we also influenced our deviation in seconds a day, but that's fine because that's something we're going to regulate after. Our first thing we're going to do now is get that beta error out. So I'm going to move it more in the same direction, and hopefully I didn't overshot it, because if I overshot it now, then it will get worse again. And as you can see, it got better. So let's hope a bit more in the same direction is the way to go. And as you can see, there we are. Now we have one line. Now we want to get that line straight. Preferably we would get that line about here again, like 4 or 5 seconds a day running ahead. Let's move the adjustment lever here, and see what that gives. That's a bit too much, so I'm going to go a tiny bit back. And I overshot it. So there we are, that's where we need to be. So now I'm quickly going to talk about compensation, because now we are in watches in a horizontal position, but when you have it in a vertical position, you will have a lower amplitude, because now you're only resting on one of the balance axles, like whether it's like this or like this, doesn't matter, you're always resting on one of the axles. However, when it is in a vertical position, you're resting on both axles, so you will lose amplitude. That will give you different numbers. There is a way, if that difference is too big, if it's more than 15 seconds a day difference, there's a way that we call compensation, which is basically here on the regulator there are two little arms, and by adjusting the distance of those little arms, you can bring those two like horizontal and vertical close together, which is something that like is often needed to be done, and I'm just quickly going to check if that would be needed here. I'm not going to go into this video into it in this video. I just thought I'd mention it. So let's see how good or how bad it is. So, oh, there goes the GoPro. So, let's quickly check. Let's line it back. So let's quickly see how it is behaving in this position. So as you can see, yes, in this case it would indeed be needed. Let's check if it is in all the positions. So, no, we don't need to compensate. We have another issue here. And that is that we have a center point of gravity on our balance wheel is off. Because you can see that, like, in this position and this position, we had a huge error now. Which means that we have a center point of gravity issue there, and it's probably going to be somewhere here. Let's quickly check. Yep. There we have it. That's the issue. So, you can already guess what the next video is going to be. So yeah, I don't know when the video is going to come out. I might do something clock related in the meantime. But, yeah. I'm glad I can show it finally, because I can't put this in a watch to show you. I need to have it happen to me, and then I can show you. So yeah, that sums it up for this video. I hope you found it interesting. It was a bit of like explaining, a bit of showing how it's done. So yeah, I hope you found it interesting. But yeah, that's what I have for today. Keep in tune for that other video that I'm going to do, probably about this watch. And I hope to see you then. Bye bye.